Good evening, everyone. Call the meeting to order. This meeting takes place in the traditional and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people. Before we go on to approval of the agenda, I just want to make a little statement here tonight before we start. It's about what went on this past weekend with the power outage. I know many residents are frustrated by the recent power outages. Losing power, especially during the cold winter months, is difficult, disruptive, and stressful. As someone who has lived in Lunenburg my entire life, I understand that frustration firsthand. However, I want to be very clear about something. There's absolutely no excuse for directing anger or abuse toward the frontline utility workers who are out there doing their jobs. The crews working to restore power are not responsible for the corporate decisions, budgets, or long-term infrastructure planning. They are the people out in harsh weather, often working long hours and in dangerous conditions, doing everything they can to restore service safely and as quickly as possible. Many of these workers are our friends and neighbors. Some are leaving homes and families who are also without power so they can help the rest of us. Hearing that utility workers were verbally harassed while trying to do their jobs yesterday, or I guess on Monday, is deeply disappointing and completely unacceptable. That is not who we are as a community, and it is not behavior that reflects our values. Frustration is understandable, abuse is not. And I just like everyone to take that serious, because they're at the point now where if they get abused like they've gotten during the last storm, they'll just leave. So if you think you didn't have power then, you definitely want to have power if the linemen leave. So, I mean, they don't make these decisions. They're just there trying to help us out. So thank you, everyone for letting me say my piece on that. So we're going to move on to approval of the agenda. There's a motion. Does someone want to make that motion? Moved by Councillor Strong, second by Councillor Babineau. All in favor, raise your right hand. Approval of the minutes. Recommendation that council approve the January 27, 2026 meeting minutes as presented. Is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Fullerton, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. Now we have a presentation tonight. So I'd like to invite these two gentlemen up to give us a presentation on Lunenburg County Wheels.
Mayor, Myra, and members of council. I am the president of Lunenburg County Wheels, Jerome Tanner. We appreciate the opportunity to update council on the operation of Lunenburg County Wheels. With me this evening is our operations manager, Darren Lance. We are now entering the third year that we started the last leg of our amalgamation to include all of MODL and the towns of Mahone Bay, Lunenburg, and Bridgewater. We are pleased that we were able to purchase 4 new vans to provide the increased service to all our residents. In addition, we now have a Toyota van and a Toyota RAV4 SUV hybrid. Having just completed a strategic planning session, we now have a lot of work to do to sustain and possibly enhance our program. We would like to offer Saturday service and possibly longer hours of operation during the week. But this all takes money. Like most not-for-profit organizations, we have difficulty in obtaining board members and keeping them. If you know of any possibilities for our board, just let us know and we'll gladly go out and see if we can invite them to our board. We do not generate money from our operations to sustain us because our fares are relatively low. We must rely on governments such as and municipalities and our sponsors to fund us. These funds, unfortunately, do not enable us to expand our service. Recently, we became aware of a provincial initiative, and I'm sure you as a municipal unit is aware of that as well, and that's regarding the accessibility standards that they want all municipalities to provide a door-to-door service, and you possibly either do it yourself or contracted out. Hopefully you look at us at some point in time for some help. We would like to be part of this initiative. I will now ask Darren to provide some updates on our operations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you, and thanks for entertaining our presentation this evening. If you could maybe go back one slide there. Yeah. So as Jerome mentioned, we did do a little bit of shuffling on our fleet. We had an 8-passenger 10-cylinder bus that was aging out, so we decided to replace that with a RAV4 hybrid. So great savings on our fuel bill. We average, I guess, about 11 to 15% of our ridership is requires a lift. So we opted for a smaller, more fuel efficient vehicle because majority of our ridership doesn't require the lifts that our 4 larger ProMaster vans have. So that's kind of why we went in that direction. Next slide, please. Our range has not changed. We're still covering all Lunenburg County West, including the 3 towns, and as you'll see in the upcoming slide, our ridership is increasing. We're currently running under 3 full-time drivers, 2 part-time drivers, and 9 casual drivers. We used to have 4 volunteer drivers, but most of them have aged out at this point. And as we all know, getting volunteers is getting harder and harder as we move along. Our ridership continues to increase. It obviously have a downturn during the November-December timeframe, mostly because of weather, and we have a lot of elderly people that tend to look at the temperature and say, I don't really want to go out in that today. So they call us up and say, no, thank you. But we'll start picking up again in the end of this month and into March. And we had some record-breaking ridership numbers for August of last year. So doing really good. Our total number, 273,000 plus passengers carried to date. So that includes our senior wheels years and our transition into Lunenburg County wheels. So really proud of those numbers, and they will continue to grow. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this is a slide I was referring to. So our numbers are, we have some history now since we changed to Lunenburg County wheels in 2022. So we have continuously increased our ridership. And as you can tell, Lunenburg is no exception. We're working hard to continue to get the word out. It's surprising after being in operation for 3 years, how many times we get a phone call saying, I just heard about you. and then they're off to the races and using our system. Next slide, please. So where are people going? Majority of our rides, 29%, are using it for shopping and errands. I combine these two because when somebody's going to Walmart, we don't know whether they're getting food or whether they're getting regular shopping. So I combine the two, but 29% of our ridership is an essential service for food for people. 16.7% are using us to get back and forth to work. And that's one of the main reasons why we would really like to increase our hours. We can get people to work because we start at 8 o'clock in the morning. So people that are in retail, we can service. But obviously they're getting off work at 6, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening, and we're shut down at that point. So they have to either walk home or take a taxi, which is substantially more expensive than what we are. And then 15.7% of our rides are for medical appointments. Next slide, please. So what's new? Our board just went through a strategic planning process. So we had completed our original expansion ahead of schedule, and the board was kind of looking to determine what we want to do next. And out of that came a number of goals, extending times. We would like to offer trips to facilities outside our region, hospitals in Kentville, Halifax, Liverpool. We get a number of calls for people that are looking to go to appointments outside our region. As I mentioned, we sold our 18-passenger bus. Restrictions, so we're restructuring our office. Switching from an operations manager to an executive director, and then we're going to hire 2 full-time people to run the business. So we need the 2 full-time office people for when we are able to expand our hours. We do need support in the office for when people are calling and canceling appointments or need to adjust where they're going to get picked up or whatever. We just can't have our vehicles out there without having some support in the office. So that's why we're kind of looking to do that. Again, looking for opportunities to expand our service, again, Saturdays and extending our hours into the evening. So that's pretty much it for our update for now. The other last thing on that slide is we are looking to go and switch our licensing. Right now, we're operating under a nonprofit license, which is a little restrictive for us. We want to switch over to a commercial vehicle license, which will allow us to do a little bit of charter type work. If somebody calls up and they're having a wedding and they need some assistance driving their people back and forth to their wedding venues on the weekends and that type of thing. So we're looking to kind of branch into that to try and increase our revenue stream to allow us to support our budget door-to-door service. So we are looking at ways for ourselves to be self-sufficient, as well as looking for other revenue to come into us. So yeah, so that's about it. I think that's the last slide, other than thank you very much for your support, and we hope we can count on your support moving forward. Again, thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to field them.
Thank you, Darren. Anyone have any questions for Deputy Mayor?
Just want to thank you very much for the service that you provide. I think it's much needed, and your numbers kind of prove that out. So that's just a statement or a message to offer. But I was curious, and I just as a reminder to us and everybody else who might be listening, what your hours of operation are, and I think it's you have to book so far ahead to secure a seat on the bus, and if you could just remind us of how.
Sure, by all means. So we're running 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So those hours are a little bit dependent on where we're picking you up. So for example, we're based in Bridgewater right now. So our first pickup in Lunenburg would be 8:30 in the morning. And then the last drop off would be 4:30. So it gives our drivers a chance to get back to base in order to be there for end of day. Our booking number is 523-4455. So easy number to remember. And we are encouraging people, the minimum that we require is 24 hours. But as we've gotten much busier, anybody that's traveling any distance, we ask 4 or 5 days in advance is really what we need. So it's again, we would like to put more vehicles on the road. We have 6. We're running 5 pretty much every day. We would love to have the 6th vehicle on the road, but unfortunately, it costs us about $45,000 to put a driver in a seat for a 40-hour. Actually, it's a 45-hour work week. So it takes money to increase our service, and that's why we're looking to go the commercial vehicle way, and why we're out here, presenting what we're doing, why we're doing it. Our consultant that we use to do our strategic study looked at all the RTAs in the province. We are the RTA that has the least expensive fares in the whole province. We are trying our best to keep it that way, but it's a struggle for sure. So thank you for your question.
Any other questions for Darren? I'd just like to as well thank you guys very much. I think it's a great service that you provide. And if you want us to put something in a newsletter, we do a monthly newsletter that we have quite a few people subscribe to. Get some information to Jamie Deans, our communications guy over there in the corner, and we can put that in a newsletter because I mean, I tell everyone about it and we budget it and we have you guys in the budget again this year, but for whatever reason, there's many Lunenburgers that either don't know about you or actually what you provide. So I think that we can work with you to try to get that word out. Because again, thank you very much. And it's a great asset to the entire region. So thank you.
Very good. I'll certainly reach out and
Excellent.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So next on the agenda is public input and questions. So before I go into the whole rules of that, I just wanted to say that later on here in the agenda, we have two items that are first readings. So at first reading, you don't get to come up and say anything. It's just the first reading. The second reading is where the public participation actually occurs. So if there's anything on the agenda that you'd like to speak to, now would be the time to speak. There's only one person signed down, but after the one person speaks, I'll ask if anybody else wants to say anything, and we'll go from there because we want to give everybody equal opportunity to voice their concerns or opinions. So it's each person's limited to 3 minutes. Each person must state their name. Questions or comments are directed to the chair. Comments and questions are open to any municipal matter, and that's really about it. And our one person signed up is Lisa Clark. Lisa?
My name is Lisa Clark, and I am the owner of the Lunenburg Inn. Mayor Myra and Council, thank you for the opportunity to provide input on the proposed marketing levy. Initially, I was opposed to the introduction of an additional tax. However, upon further consideration, I recognize that this levy is one of the few mechanisms through which local business owners can meaningfully contribute to and have a voice in how marketing funds for the town are allocated. With appropriate safeguards in place, I am supportive of increased investment in marketing, and I'm encouraged by the possibility of participating in decisions regarding the direction and use of these funds. To that end, I respectfully submit the following recommendations for consideration within the bylaw. Number 1, collaborative decision-making. Decisions regarding how the funds are allocated should be made collaboratively, with meaningful input from a representative group of local business owners, rather than being determined solely by the Board of Trade and Council. Broad business representation will ensure that the marketing initiatives reflect the needs of the wider community. My back of the envelope calculations, there will be about $250,000 annually collected from this levy, and we need these monies to be handled by a professional marketing company agency in consultation with all of the stakeholders. Number 2, justification for levy increases. Any proposed increase to the levy should be supported by a clear business case outlining the need for additional funding and specific marketing initiatives it would support. Taxes and levies have a tendency to increase over time, and it is important that any increases be transparent, justified, and results-driven. Number 3, appropriate use of funds. Funds generated by the marketing levy should be dedicated exclusively to tourism and destination marketing initiatives. They should not be used for municipal infrastructure or services that are already funded through property taxes. Number 4, and this was something that I thought of after Deputy Mayor Bailey last week mentioned something about the additional labor costs that would be borne by taken on by the town. Accommodation operators who are responsible for collecting, administering, accounting for, and remitting the levy should be permitted to deduct a reasonable monthly administration fee to offset our labor and expenses incurred. Something like a fixed amount of $200 per month, I think, would help ensure fairness and compliance. So that's with regards to the bylaw, but the last issue that I think we need to get a handle on is the amount of short-term accommodations in town. I've gone on to Airbnb as recently as this afternoon, and there are a lot of listings with out-of-date licenses. This levy needs to be fair, and all operators within the town should collect the monies. I am not sure who should be responsible for the monitoring of the non-compliant actors, but I can tell you it is disheartening that these same operators compete with us for tourism dollars, but are not subject to commercial taxes, utilities, commercial insurance, and now perhaps might not be collecting this levy. When you list on Airbnb, you can simply fill anything in that field where it asks for your short-term registration number. In closing, I support increased marketing of the town and believe if implemented thoughtfully, this levy can provide meaningful benefits to the entire community. With the inclusion of the recommendations outlined, I'm hopeful that accommodation operators will be more inclined to support the initiative. I encourage council to consider these perspectives and believe that by working collaboratively, council and local business owners can achieve positive outcomes for the town. Thank you for listening and consideration of my perspective and point of view. And I have some, I have a printout of my notes as well. If you want to pass them around. There's 8 in there. There's not, I didn't know how many to do.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And I have a lot of concerns about short-term rentals as well as a lot of my colleagues around the table. That's one of the priorities. We have staff working on some reports on that. And I agree that has to be something that if this marketing levy goes through, everybody gets treated fairly. And I think that if someone's staying in a resident for accommodations for 2 or 3 days or under 30 days is what it is, they should be paying the same levy as an inn or a hotel or any kind of thing. And it was supposed to be, the licensing was supposed to curve that whole issue, but again, nobody's really from the province or anywhere is enforcing that. So I think that's where it has to be stepped up. And I'm hoping if this levy comes through that people will actually maybe mention to our staff, because I know I've gone on Airbnb and there's definitely a few on there, just tell our staff who they are and we will deal with it once the marketing levy gets passed, because we have the same concerns you do when it comes to short-term rentals. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that wants to speak on anything else on the agenda or any municipal matter? We will move on then to 8, correspondence. 8.1 is a sponsorship request from the Lunenburg County Music Festival. So normally this would get pushed to our grant process, but we really need to let them know by the 14th of February, which is this weekend. So if anybody would like to speak on that or make a motion, you have the package in front of you and there's a couple different options. So is someone wanting to talk on that request? There is some money in the budget. So if we wanted to do like a full page ad for $200, there's $200 in the budget left from our grants. So does anybody want to? Councillor Babineau?
Yeah, I'd be happy to I guess make a motion for council to go with the platinum level $200 sponsorship for the Lunenburg County Music Festival.
Is there a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any further discussion on the motion or request? Deputy Mayor?
Well, at the risk of unnecessarily delaying a vote, I just wanted to say that that this festival has been going on for many, many years, and it's been sort of a jumping off point for young musicians, singers, musicians of all shapes and sizes, and it's a great opportunity for our youth to grow music performance. So I think it's definitely, and I think the timing has been a challenge always. They're a volunteer-run organization, and they never seem to get before us in in the regular scheme of grant giving. So I appreciate the council's consideration of seeing this come before us now, and the fact that we have some funds still available as we've checked with staff. That appreciate the motion put forth. Thanks.
Yeah, all I'd like to say is that this whole association, Lunenburg County Music Festival, definitely helped my daughter really grow as a young child. She was the junior performer of the year in 2012, and it basically in both piano and voice. So it gave her the confidence that she instills today in her. So I think it's a very good program. We always seem to get requests. Every request we get seems to be about sports all the time, which are great as well. Don't get me wrong, but I think if we can help culture and arts out, we should be doing it. So I will be supporting the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried, unanimous. So the next one is Nova Scotia Quality of Life Survey, and I'll get the deputy mayor just maybe to give us a quick update on that, since I think you attended one of the webinars.
Thanks. So I didn't prep for this. I did attend the webinar. I was involved with the first attempt at this many years ago to do a quality of life survey, and this is their more robust opportunity to do just that. And I noticed that they've been publicizing the opportunity already to the public to participate. And it is a very different look at statistical information. Typically, it's kind of, very cold, hard data on things like, price of things and numbers of people and that kind of thing. And this is much more of a perspective on quality of life, just as the name of the survey suggests. And it looks at, what you value in life from a different perspective of just how much money one might make, or, where they might live and that sort of thing. So I'm just putting happy to speak to it, to champion it. I just think the more people that participate, and particularly the more people that participate from Lunenburg and surrounding area, the better data we will have to help inform our decisions going forward. So if not many people respond, the information is of little value, but if lots of people respond, then we could get some very valuable information to inform our decisions. So I just really encourage people. And also Paul may want to speak to it too, our CAO, with respect to the support the town is going to offer to make sure, like, you don't have to do it online. There's opportunities to do it through hard copy. So if you want to speak to that, Paul.
Yeah, through you, Chair. As part of this process, our goal is to promote this out to the public. We'll be doing it through our newsletters, website, and social media. So our goal is to get this out there. But for those that have difficulties or would like an extra hand, we're happy to print copies here for residents if they're interested in filling it out, as well as helping them with the submission aspect online. It is a 45-minute survey, so it can take a little bit of time. But if there's somebody that is having difficulty at home, please come to Town Hall. We'll find a solution that helps best allow them to access and report in. So thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on. There's no public hearings. There's no business arising or unfinished business. So we're right into new business. 11.1 is the first reading of the marketing levy. There is a recommendation the council approve first reading of the marketing levy bylaw as presented. But before we actually make that motion, if people have questions or want to make changes or additions, now is your time to speak on the actual motion. So does anyone want to start or say anything? Okay, so Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, I was just frantically scrolling here. Because to the point that was made earlier in the by Lisa, a member of the public who spoke about this, I do think it's very important to give further consideration and to just how the funds will be, how the decision is made to distribute the funds and expend the monies. I know we are bound by very broad guidelines by the MGA as to how the money can be used at this point in time. But as to actual expenditure, I'm not sure that we've been, and I think that may have been deliberate in some ways, that we weren't terribly prescriptive at this point, but maybe staff can speak to how that can evolve over time.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, so our recommendation in the staff report is to wait for a year, collect the levy, and then it'll come back to council to decide how you would like to disperse or give it to another organization. However, the recommendation in the staff report is to keep that very much collaborative with the operator. So in our initial engagement with that targeted survey, we did say, hey, under the Municipal Government Act, this is what it could be used for. What are you interested in? So we do see that there in the staff report. So it would be our recommendation to continue that conversation with operators and target them and have them weigh in once we have a better idea of how much money we'll have at the end of the year.
Anybody else? Councillor Strong?
I don't remember at the COTW meeting last week whether we actually weighed in on changing the name from marketing levy to the short-term accommodation marketing levy bylaw, because I don't think it's really understood by the community. From people I speak to anyway. I think short-term accommodation should be in there so that people know that it's not restaurants or. And it also will give notice, I think, to going through this process to potential short-term providers.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and including that in the name will certainly make it very clear that that's including them. So anybody else? Councillor Fullerton?
Just a point to the engaging of tourism operators and accommodations operators. You mentioned it was in the staff report. Should we include something in the actual document to say that, you know, the town may engage a committee of stakeholders?
Absolutely. If council did want to see that defined a little bit more, solidified in the bylaw, there could be something. Ultimately, keeping the final decision authority with council, if that's what council wishes. But if you did want to see something that operators will be engaged as a part of the expenditure of funds, that could be solidified in the bylaw.
Through you, Chair, one of the other options is we look at a Schedule A to the bylaw, in which that you can dictate, once you understand what your levy is, how you want to break it down as council, because in the end, under the MGA, it's council's decision. What I've seen in other municipalities is putting it into a Schedule A, outlining how that's going to work, what type of coordination would be with the businesses, how the funds are broken up and distributed, whether it's to X group, Y group for marketing, town holds. There's lots of decision making and a lot of more time that can be considered. And if you put it into a schedule, it does give you a bit more flexibility. If something isn't working with a partner or something's not jiving well, you have the ability to change it without going through lots of systematic readings and going back through a process. So just a suggestion for council you may want to consider.
Yeah, I actually like the Schedule A thing because it's like a policy. It can be changed quite easy. If you put it in the actual bylaw, it's not that simple to change. So what might make sense in 2027 might not make sense in 2029, for example. So I do like the Schedule A thing. A lot of the things that were brought up here tonight by Lisa, actually, if you read what's actually allowed under the MGA, they do actually hit a few of them. Like it actually says you can't spend it on municipal infrastructure at this time. And I think 3% is actually the maximum. So, and I don't know how long that'll be, but I can't see them raising that at any time. But 3% is the maximum you can charge in Nova Scotia. And I certainly feel that in a Schedule A, we should definitely be working with other organizations and stakeholders that collect the funds on how we actually spend it. I think that makes perfect sense. So again, that would be so if we have to add a Schedule A or whatever, we can do that before the second reading. But that would be my suggestion.
Again, just to clarify, so a schedule, I think it might be best also just to wait for the year. See, again, if you were to put a schedule and say, we're going to give it to this group or this group. I think what I was talking about, and maybe what Councillor Fullerton was, if you wanted like a line in there that said there will be a collaborative engagement approach to how the funds will be distributed, that could be something. But for right now, staff would recommend not creating a Schedule A to outline because we don't really know exactly how much funds we're working with. So that would come back to council and then maybe a Schedule A once we have a better understanding of the funds.
Yeah, because remember, we're not going to actually have any of this money in front of us to sit down and decide how to spend it until basically not even next year. We're going to start collecting it next year. We're going to collect it for a year. So we're basically talking 2 years from now, January 2028, before we decide to sit down and figure out how we're going to spend it. Deputy Mayor?
So looking at kind of a compromise of the two. I understand what's being said, I think, but I would like to be more definitive that there will be better defined. So by kind of including a line to indicate that that's forthcoming, and then indicate that it'll be forthcoming as to be defined through a separate attachment or something, so that we're not again reviewing the whole bylaw when it comes back, to ensure that that's kind of clarified in an amendment, I think would be helpful. And I just wanted to say that I agree with the name change, and I'd be happy to put forth a motion with those that council approve first reading of the marketing levy bylaw with an amended name to include short-term accommodation in the title, and to include clarifying language to ensure that there is collaboration in determining how the money will be expended.
Okay, there's a motion made. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Fullerton. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, motion carried unanimous. Thank you very much. Now on to 11.2, first reading tour and horse-drawn vehicle bylaw. Recommendation that council approve first reading of the tour and horse-drawn vehicle bylaw as presented. So once again, before we make that motion, if there's any discussion around the table, now's the time to discuss the bylaw. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? There were changes made from the one that was presented at the COTW that we had all recommended. So is there anything else in there that councilors would like to ask, add? Now's your time. If there, okay, Deputy Mayor.
Just kind of a caution, so I'm happy to have it go forth, but I'm still a little not sure if I'm 100% comfortable with the staff's recommendation that things be kept quite fluid as far as standards for, and I'm only thinking of our own responsibilities and whether or not that will ultimately prove to be helpful or not necessarily so. If there's something very clearly defined as to what's too hot and what's not appropriate. And I know we kind of had this discussion last time it was brought up, that it's helpful because, you know, the variables do present different situations that's sometimes best determined on site at the time. But I do frankly worry about our staff having to ultimately be the ones to make that decision without sort of that maybe more clearly defined. So just a caution, but or, you know, kind of a lingering concern, but not necessarily sure that there's a better alternative.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Babineau?
No questions or anything. I just wanted to say that I think that staff has done really good work with this. So thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor Strong?
Again, it's just a comment. I think I'm looking forward to hearing the public input into this because I think that's where we really will be learning what we need to change or to revisit. So I'm ready to move it as is.
Did you want to read out the recommendation, Councillor Strong?
I'm gonna make a motion or move the motion or whatever it is that council approve first reading of the tour and horse-drawn vehicle bylaw as presented.
So it's been moved. Is there a seconder? Councillor Babineau, any further discussion or question on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, motion carried unanimous. For item 11.5, I'm going to turn the chair over to the deputy mayor and I'm going to go sit in the audience because I'm declaring a conflict of interest with this group.
Okay, so 11.5, the next item on our agenda is a sponsorship request for the Jennifer Collins Classic Hockey Tournament. And staff have provided a report and there's a recommendation. So looking to see if there's discussion on this topic. Or recommendation, yes. Councillor Greek.
Just from a personal perspective, I certainly fully support potential in-kind support for the next 3 years for the Classic. They've provided great support for community members in need, and the events have really shown potential and clarity to bring the community together, and it's truly been inspiring to see the event grow, and I certainly hope to look forward to see it continue to grow in the future.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Strong.
I agree with Councillor Greek's comments, but I also wanted to add, I'm really disappointed to not hear from the classic people themselves on this one, because I think it really does personalize exactly what they do for the community and helps us reach our support. But anyway, wish they were here.
Through you, Chair, it was suggested we bring forward the report first to gauge council's interest in a greater agreement. They're interested to still come and present. So if you would like, we can still arrange for that if you want to defer a decision. It's up to you.
So it's people can do so direct or move ahead with the recommendation or an amended motion as you'd like.
I was just gonna go ahead and make the recommendation, but I think if we've been in touch with them and they're kind of interested in doing that, we could defer it and have them come in and give a presentation. That'd be fine.
Through you, is there timing an issue as far as sponsorship?
Through you, Chair, I think that because it's an in-kind sponsorship that we're talking about a Vice Community Center, it wouldn't be in effect right now. So if you want them to come to the February 24th meeting for a presentation, I don't think for our clerk, I don't think we have any presentations on that night. So we could ask them to come to the 24th, do a presentation and bring this back forward if that is council's wish.
So as you wish, if you feel a presentation would change perspectives on this, then we could certainly invite them to attend. Can discuss the merits of that. And I know I'm not in no hurry. Sometimes we feel pressured to move one way or another just because there's a silence in facing us, but welcome to take a minute to ponder those alternatives, I guess.
It wouldn't change my vote, but could be fun to Councillor Strong's point. But also to be, I guess, mindful of their time and their planning. If we kind of all know how we feel, then I guess we might as well just vote on it. So I guess I'll make the recommendation then. Do you want me to read that whole thing out? I should have probably brought it up. I was gonna do it. All right. I move that council approve a diamond sponsorship contribution of in-kind support for the next 3 years, 2026, 2027, and 2028 for the Jennifer Collins Classic Hockey Tournament, consisting of waiver of non-prime time and weekend morning War Memorial Arena rental fees totaling $3,030.26, $3,120.90 in 2027, 3% increase, and $3,214.53 in 2028, 3% increase. Waiver of the rental fee for the community center totaling $387 in 2026, $398.61 in 2027, 3% increase, and $410.57 in 2028, 3% increase. Promotion of the Jennifer Collins Classic through the town of Lunenburg's communication channels, including social media and newsletters. Authorize the chief administrative officer to finalize and sign the 3-year waiver of fees agreement.
So moved. Is there a seconder? Councillor Greek. Any further discussion?
Does this mean we won't see them for 3 years?
Through you, Chair, that is correct. That's the goal of this is unless you want them to come and present, unless you want them to
Well,
be
I
here.
think there is a real educational opportunity for the community in doing the presentation. And I can see how this would cascade into future requests instead that we do in the spring, becoming 3 years or 4 years, and then how does the next council deal with it? Do they just come in and say 4 years? And like, it seems like it's big precedent. Have we done this before?
Through you, Chair, this is something a little unique due to the okay, due to the uniqueness of the tournament, how it's grown and how it's become more of a homecoming. There's multi layers to this versus a lot of the other events that are hosted in the community. So it was thought by staff, because we know they would come and ask each year for almost the same amount, the same request, that would it behoove of this council to look at it as a 3-year agreement and then having the next council get presented again with the options for this. But just if you want to have a stipulation that they should come and present every year, just as a information reminder, we can arrange for that as well.
It sort of negates the purpose of the presentation. No, I just strongly feel that it is such an admirable initiative that it's going to get lost in this is one way of communicating. Social media is another way of communicating, but I just don't want to see people or organizations start turning to this and lose that interaction with the community with the request.
I think an understanding of what Councillor Strong's trying to say. I appreciate the fact that there's a bit of a precedent, being set perhaps with the over-year arrangement being suggested here, and I knew Jennifer personally, so it's a very an event that is tied very closely to the people who would have known Jennifer and her family, long-term residents, long history, tragic event. Also, I'm familiar with a number of the people who have been supported with this initiative, and it is very much community-driven. As Councillor Greek said, it's grown, and it's like a homecoming, as was said. So it's a very, very unique, and it's important that we show support for this event. And I think in the generous support that was offered last year, and which is what this recommendation is based on, was very much kind of a catching up, an affirmation by this council that we appreciate and understand the value that this event brings to the community. But it was it's quite a significant contribution. We're just entering into the budget process where we're going to be looking at hard numbers as to how much it costs to run things like our arena and our community center. So those kinds of things are also, while you're supportive, we're also, stewards of the public purse. So we have to be mindful of that. So putting this out over multiple years is a bit of a bold statement, I guess, on this with this particular sponsorship. All that being said, I think it's very important that the town of Lunenburg be a sponsor of this event. So yes, Councillor.
Just further to all the points made, I think that the presentation that has been presented to us is quite comprehensive and quite complete. It's very well done. Perhaps with this sponsorship over multiple fiscal years, we could ask them to come next year and the year after, and because the shape of the tournament might change in the coming years. So from that perspective, it would be good for them to come again next year in terms of a personal and in-person presentation.
Any other comments? Okay. All in favor of the motion that's been made? We won't make Renee read it again. Anyone opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Or can we take his chair?
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to item 12, notice of motion, information requests, and council reports. So tonight I'm going to start to the right of me, Councillor Strong.
I only have one thing, and it's a comment that arises out of the committee of the whole meeting last week that I feel has been misinterpreted by some members of the public. I've seen some comments on Facebook that I suggested that you can't complain on Facebook and squarely I was talking about a bylaw, a noise bylaw, and I was trying to illustrate that complaining on Facebook is really irrelevant when we have a bylaw officer that would take the complaint. So I just want to get that message out to the community. I was never, ever suggesting that no one could complain on Facebook. That's what it is. But I just want to make sure that everyone knows that I'm not saying that there's no avenue. It is the avenue for the noise bylaw is through the bylaw officer. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Deputy Mayor.
I just wanted to comment that our PAC committee met last night and for the first time in a while, and it's a rejuvenated committee, and that it was wonderful. It was not a meeting, it was a workshop, it was an educational opportunity. And I think that's very important in our roles as councillors, and for those good citizens who take the time and energy and devote time to being part of these committees, that they are given an opportunity to become more familiar with their role and to reevaluate and to understand better what our jobs are in those advisory committees and what purpose we truly serve in that capacity. So just wanted to make mention of that. So thanks very much to our new senior planner for leading that.
Great, thank you. Councillor Babineau. Councillor Greek. Councillor Fullerton.
Just very briefly, that the Lunenburg County Accessibility Advisory Committee met last week, and it was a lot of good news stories around the region with the municipalities that participate in that committee for projects that are underway or that have been approved in upcoming budgets. Thanks.
Thank you. And really, I don't have much to add. It was a busy week again for most of us, going to committee meetings and events throughout the community. So again, I'd just like to add on to what Councillor Strong said, that yes, there is a proper channel to make complaints, and you can more than welcome to complain all you want on Facebook. But like I said last week, and I'll say it again, our staff and us sitting around this table aren't scrolling Facebook, and we're not taking our direction, advice, or really, we're not making our decisions off of what's said on Facebook. So if you have something really informative you want to share, or you have something you want to tell us, email us. We're all on the town website. We all have town emails, and we all have town communication channels. So if you do have a complaint about something, email us, because when I go through Facebook, I just scroll it and usually delete things. So I'm not wasting my time with a lot of the complaints on Facebook. So
Don't think we're paying the bylaw officer to be scrolling through Facebook too, but there's also a lot of opportunity to get messages or information to council. We have the 3 minutes at the beginning. Letter is a really great thing. Our email addresses are all public, so fill your boots.
exactly. It's like I said 2 weeks ago at the capital budget meeting, we passed a capital budget for lots of money, like millions, 3-point-some million dollars, 3.8 million, and we had 3 people in the stands and nobody spoke. So again, we really, if you want to have input in the town's decisions and policies, here's the place to come speak, or send us an email. But writing a complaint on Facebook probably isn't going to get a response that's a credible or serious response. I'm just saying. So nothing else there. No items to add for committee of the whole at this point. Motion action list is on there for us to follow. So I'll need a motion to move in closed session. Motion, Councillor Strong, second by Councillor Fullerton. Thank you very much, everybody. Get your snow shovels ready.